Greetings, dear viewer, and welcome to Purposes Crossed, where I hope that people who are called by Jesus for different purposes cross paths and exchange ideas. We have been going through the Sermon on the Mount in this series of reflections, and we began this 2 weeks ago. Today, we will turn to the third beatitude in Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. But first, let us read the text in Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up to the mountain, and after he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you." This beatitude is a development of Psalm chapter 37, verse 11. The word translated meek is the same one Jesus uses to describe himself in Matthew chapter 11, verse 29, when he says, "I am gentle and humble in heart." Meekness, we can conclude, has to do with being gentle and humble. Gentleness is the opposite of forcefulness and violence. To treat another person gently is to refuse to force that person or to violate that person. But gentleness is relational, which means that a gentle person of necessity must interact with others. Humility is the opposite of pride or arrogance. To be humble is to refuse to exalt oneself, especially at the expense of another. But at the same time, humility is not self-effacement. To be humble is not to put oneself down, but to refuse to raise oneself. It is to have and communicate a healthy and accurate appraisal of oneself. Hence, Jesus can be said to be humble, even though he quite clearly said things that are quite far from self-effacing, like, "I am the resurrection and the life." Therefore, Jesus is not pronouncing a blessing on people who beat up on themselves. He is not advocating that Christians should be doormats. Now, while a doormat can do nothing when people trample it, a meek person can make decisions. The decisions will stem from a strong conviction of his or her dignity and value in the eyes of God. A meek person can choose to allow others to deny him or her common human rights. A meek person, on the other hand, can also demand justice be done. The course of action will depend on the decision and how that decision will affect the other person. In other words, a meek person will not act out of selfish motives. Such selfless action can only come from the security that one has from being a child of God. And to such children, Jesus promises the earth. The promise is yet to be realized. Jesus' promise is yet to happen in the future. It is a future hope for those who, while imitating him, are trodden under and denied a share in God's gift, that is this earth. God has given the earth to all humans. God will give it as an inheritance to those who follow Jesus and have no place to lay their heads. Meekness and trust are two sides of the same coin. When we trust Yahweh and find our security in him, we will not join the rat race in which others are involved. We will not define success as the world does. We will march to the beat of a different drummer. We will define success as emulating Jesus, the one who is gentle and humble. Thank you.